What's good, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Edge Live as we count down to the third and final game tonight, the Ravens and the Bengals live from Cincinnati. But so far this weekend, isn't this what we wanted? All four games going to the over on the total. The Dolphins almost pulling it off earlier today despite their head coach. And then now we're sweating live. The Giants up 7 in Minneapolis, less than 7 minutes to play. We will sweat that out together. Let's bring in the stars of the show because I have three of the absolute very best ready to go tonight. First and foremost, live from Nashville, Tennessee, the Penthouse Level M Squared. Good evening.
Good evening, Coach. See ya, Alex. Great to see you guys here. Loving this action today. How about those Dolphins? What an effort from Skylar Thompson.
It was a great effort from Skylar Thompson. Too bad his head coach couldn't give the same effort. Now, next, and we'll talk about it in a second, live from parts unknown, Prop Stars. Good evening, sir.
Coach, good evening. Mikey, cousin Sia, great to see you guys. What a day of football it's been. What a weekend of football it's been. Also got to tip the cap to Daniel Jones, who just looks absolutely phenomenal. I know it's against the Vikings pass defense. This guy is balling out right now. Certainly earned himself some coin in the offseason.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He's playing like a legit playoff quarterback. Finally, he is the counselor of cash, and he needs one more catch. One more. Hello, Sia Najad.
Hello, and he will earn his coin as soon as he hits Richie James for one more reception. That's how I see it. I fell one reception short with Keenan Allen's prop yesterday. In spite of getting 13 targets, only 6 catches. I just need one more from Richie James. Let's get a W here.
All right, we'll get to tonight's games first, but sometimes when the games are so good, we got to kind of recap what we saw. And earlier today, you heard Mikey talk about it, the Dolphins. Have you guys ever seen 3 timeouts blown in the second half to avoid a delay of game penalty, and then ultimately all 3 of those come back to bite them, and then a 4th and a foot, and they have a delay of game again? Sia, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the 4th and a foot, it was certainly unforgivable. Here's the problem. I mean, your Skylar Thompson is your quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of experience. I imagine, especially with the play calling coming through, that there was some confusion there, especially with the loud Buffalo crowd. So I do want to give, I don't want to come down too hard on McDaniel here, but on the 4th and 1, you got to get that play in immediately, and you got to snap that ball with at least 5 seconds left on the clock. You cannot risk that situation.
The only excuse I will give him, because it doesn't take longer than 5 seconds. I used to play to call a quarterback sneak. That's what they should have done. But Mikey, what I think when you look at him on the sidelines, I think he thought the play before was a first down. So he was calling a play as a first down and not as a 4th down. But still, they reset the clock. He had 60 seconds to call that and couldn't get it in. Couldn't get it in.
Yep, it's definitely unfortunate for him. Some of it's a product of, again, Skylar Thompson not being in that system, hurry-up offense on the road. It makes a little bit of sense there, but at some point they definitely got to get it out. I think the other thing to talk about, though, is how awesome he was at times throwing down the field. He had, I think, 4 drops from Waddle and Tyreek Hill combined. Any one of those could have definitely changed, maybe not necessarily the outcome of the game, but it could have made it even closer there at the end for sure.
Yeah, a couple of those early on, you didn't even think about it because the Bills were running away with it. You're like, it doesn't even matter. And now, boy, did those matter. Yeah. By the way, the Giants just went it forward on 4th and 1 from their own 45, and they did what the Dolphins should have done. They got up there, they ran a quarterback sneak, and they got the first down. So now new set of downs, 3 minutes to play. The clock is moving. Alex, from a prop perspective, earlier today, we saw Stephon Diggs go way to his over, Gabe Davis way to his over. It wasn't the game script we thought with 65 combined points.
Yeah, really interesting game, Coach. Early on, obviously, the Bills looked like they couldn't be stopped. Josh Allen was slinging it down the field. Really thought Stephon Diggs could approach 200 yards in the game if they kept the pedal on the metal there. Slowed down a bit, obviously, in the second half. But good to see Diggs get back on track. Also, Gabe Davis. I think this is one of the first times, maybe the first time this season, both Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs have both eclipsed 100 yards in the same game. Typically, the production or targets get funneled to one of the 2 guys, typically it being Diggs. But yeah, it was good to see at least those guys both get involved.
And then see in the second game that's currently being played right now, we talk about Daniel Jones. This is, I think you could say this is the best performance of his entire career. You could say that. 300 yards passing, 80 yards rushing, and finding Hodgins 105 yards, 8 catches, 88 yards, 58 yards for Barkley. Barkley on the ground, 53 yards, and just absolutely trucking people. This is the Giants team Giants fans have been waiting for.
It is, and it's funny because you're talking about his best game, and the first receiver you list is Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, let's be real with what Daniel Jones is dealing with here. It's a bunch of third and fourth and fifth receivers on most other teams. So that really big time credit to Daniel Jones because he's doing it with his legs, he's doing it pre-snap, and he's doing it with receivers that a lot of people may think, hey, man, these guys don't really belong in the NFL, let alone starting on a team. So, and I'm not saying that, but I think that is what people think of when they hear Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton.
Go ahead, Alex.
Coach, yeah, if you're going to only give Saquon Barkley 8 rushing attempts in a game when he's averaging 7 yards per carry, you better be playing really well, and that better be like an advantageous game plan for you, because to use Barkley in that fashion when he's obviously playing well is pretty head-scratching, but obviously it's worked out. They knew they wanted to attack the Vikings through the pass defense. Daniel Jones just cannot miss right now. Vikings can't stop them at all, and I've just been really impressed with how pass-heavy they've gone. They've been so balanced throughout the majority of the season, but they knew that this was the path to beating the Vikings, and they really just played very aggressively through the air.
And we don't always see teams do that, Mikey, when you know what you should do, but being willing to do it is a completely another thing. But now the Giants, Mikey, they're facing third down, 3 minutes to go. The Vikings have used all their timeouts. This is essentially the ball game right here. Are you surprised the Giants have a 7-point lead?
I'm not surprised. Look, I think they're the better coached team, and I think that that's ultimately what's led to where we're at here. I mean, obviously, you could pick on the Vikings defense all you want, but the Giants have had an excellent game plan. They went for it on fourth down when they should have. Daniel Jones, incredibly sharp, intentionally took the sack, went down, keep the clock running. All the little things that, steal 40 seconds or a timeout at any given time add up, and that's why these teams win these games at the end.
All right, we'll keep you updated there in the chat. Do me a favor, hit that like button for me. It really helps the show and our algorithm on YouTube, those listening on Apple or Spotify. We love all of you as well. Okay, game number 3 tonight. It's live on NBC. It's the Ravens. It's the Bengals, a rematch from a year ago, and Slayton just dropped that's a $5 fine.
Sorry, you're right.
We literally just talked about it. $5 fine. Holy cow. Although I saw it essentially the same time. But you still AB's all over it, baby. AB's all over it. All right, so here's what the spread looks like tonight currently. It's kind of moved around all week long, but we're going to settle on this number as we speak at 7:39. It is 7.5, down to 7.5. Minus 106 is juiced to the Bengals side of things. So let's do our best bets first. And Sia, you love to fade a player on the Bengals. A little surprising, but I know you have a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mixon when it comes to perhaps receptions and receiving yards, but I really don't like him when it comes to yardage and rush attempts. I actually like the under in his yardage and rush attempts, but I'm going to go with rush attempts here. It's under 14.5 at minus 120. Over his last 5 games, his rush attempts are as follows: 11, 16, 11, 14, and 7. So clearly 4 out of the last 5, he hasn't eclipsed this 14.5 rush attempt total. He's been very inefficient. That's part of the reason. Samaje Perine will mix in a little bit. But to be honest with you, I think this is a game where the Ravens really try to milk the clock. And if they are successful doing that, you're going to see limited possessions, but you're also going to see Joe Mixon probably stymied in the running game like he was last week, 11 rushes for 27 yards. I just don't think he's going to be efficient enough to justify giving him the ball 15, 16, 17 times. So I'm going to take the under 14.5 rush attempts.
All right, very good. So that's the Bengals head guy on the ground. Now, the Ravens head guy on the ground. Prop Stars, you are all over him tonight. Who am I talking about?
Talking about J.K. Dobbins, coach, put him out on the site, over 59.5 rushing yards. He's had at least 59 rushing yards in 4 consecutive games, 2 of those games going well over 100 yards, averaging over 7 yards per carry over that 4-game sample as well. So he looks very explosive, very dynamic in this Baltimore backfield. He looks like he's recaptured his pre-injury explosive after that brilliant rookie year. He missed last season, really got off to a slow start this year, but I've been very impressed with what I've seen. The metrics also back it up as well, whether it be his breakaway yards, his elusive rating. They all have graded out very well, especially recently. The Bengals are not an easy matchup, not too terrible of a matchup either, though. 14th in EPA allowed per rush, 15th in rushing DVOA. And without Lamar Jackson in this game, I really think Baltimore is going to lean heavily on their ground game. They've also managed Dobbins' touches all season long. They've been very careful not to overwork work him. I think this is a game where he could feasibly get 15 to 17 carries. So love J.K. Dobbins over 59.5 rushing yards. I know it's up to 61.5 right now. I'd still play it there. I expect to see him be the focal point of Baltimore's offense tonight.
Oh, man. I think if the Ravens want any shot at this, J.K. Dobbins is going to have a big, big night tonight. Now, Mikey, let me come to you, because what we learned from the Bills and Dolphins game today is just because you have a money line play and you're getting 13.5 in the spread doesn't mean that in the NFL it's a walk in the park. It's still difficult, but you cashed your first leg. What's your second?
Yeah, it's the third leg on it is going to be
yes.
The Bengals money line. We need the Bengals money line in a big way tonight. I've alluded to it a little bit. It is a significant wager for me, the biggest of the season. And we're going to ride it out here at this point. I have not hedged. I have not taken Baltimore with the points at this point. We might look to do so in game. I definitely need to see a few series from the Baltimore side to do it. Other leans on the game, I have a slight lean towards the over in this game. We typically have over leans when we get totals this low anyway, for the most part, as long as it's not a significant weather situation. In the NFL, the number 41 is an incredibly key number in the NFL totals. This thing you can get down to 40 right now. So that would be my lean on the game. If you are interested in teasing at all, I think that it is now into a pretty strong same game teaser range, where you could bring that total down to 34 points. You could bring the side down to -1.5 or -2. That'll come back at -120 if you want to make that play.
Okay, very good. Quick update from the Giants game. Slayton dropped a sure first down. It would have been over. And so the Vikings get it back. A horrible roughing the passer call on the Giants. So now they have it, 2-minute warning. They have it around their own 33, 34. It's a big third down play for the Vikings, but they got saved back at their own 12 just a moment ago. AB, big boy, drop in. I know you've got 4 plays in this game, and I think this is better than his face, to be honest with you.
It definitely is. Yeah, we've market researched this.
How did you get the thing to move when you're talking? That is sweet.
Hey, we can't give away all of our secrets here. We got more coming too.
All right. What do you like tonight?
All right, so we got 4 plays here. All right, we're going to go the Bengals first half team total over 12.5 at -125. And I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and bring the screen on so everybody can see our picks. We're also going to go Bengals second half team total over 12.5. I believe, look, at least one half of the Bengals are going to score 2 touchdowns. Quite frankly, a touchdown, 2 field goals. We could get it in the other. Feel good about that one. The last 2. You guys want to gamble, all right, and have some fun. Here are 2 bets for you tonight. All right, first one, Ravens-Bengals, total punts over 8.5. We almost nailed this last night on a game that featured a lot of scoring. Quite frankly, I could see both teams, defense is standing up a little bit over 8.5. We're going to play that. We're also, all right, so we're looking at field goal kickers, and we've got the Maestro. He's on Evan McPherson over 1.5 field goals. So I don't want to play the other side because the Ravens could be in a negative game script here. We're going to play Ravens and Bengals, each score 1 touchdown and each make 1 field goal at -140.
Very interesting. Very exotic, as these sports books like to say. But again, don't tweet at us. You heard him. It's supposed to be fun. Have some fun. Don't tweet it. Oh, that killed me. Somebody tweeted at me, that parlay, that here or there parlay killed me, is what they said. If you're betting your entire bankroll on a here or there parlay in a game from Turkey, you've got bigger issues than the early edge. Mikey, let me come to you, because Matt in the chat says, I cannot believe that I'm the only one on the Jamar Chase over with his yards. Do you think Jamar Chase, who's had a couple of pretty good weeks, including last week, went over his total? Tonight, it looks like it's around 6.5 catches, 79.5 yards.
Yeah, look, it's a classic case of I'm not on it to start the game. I might be on it if it looks like the game's going to be ultra competitive. I might play it in game. But I'm certainly not playing the under. We hear that a lot from me on these kind of players like this. If anything, I do like leaning on the reception number a little bit too at 6.5. He has had no fewer than 7 catches in 8 straight games. However, there are still mouths to feed. This is still projected to be a positive game script, not a neutral or trailing game script. If it gets out of hand, if there's a defensive score, there's just all sorts of scenarios that lead to Jamar Chase not needing to have a big game in this particular spot. So I prefer to wait personally. I'm certainly not taking the unders, but I prefer to wait and potentially look at playing these numbers live.
All right. Speaking of live, the Vikings live 4th and 8. The game is on the line. Let's sweat it together. Back to pass, Cousins, and stopped short of the first down, and the game will be over. The Giants are going to go to Minnesota, get the job done. One of the best scenes I've seen, guys, just moments ago. Brian Dable, with the game on the line, he went over to talk to Slayton. And basically, I think he told him, hey, get your head together. If we go to overtime, I'm going to need you, big boy. That's the kind of head coach he is. How impressive that the Giants not only get it done, they score 31, and Daniel Jones has the game of his life.
Yeah, in what should have been, a rebuilding year for the New York Giants with their new head coach. This is really impressive. A quarterback that was unproven by anybody's measure, bunch of receivers that nobody's ever heard of, Saquon Barkley coming back from an injury, a head coach that, has never been a head coach before, and they come in and beat the Vikings. So we've been saying all year, people use the word fraudulent. I'll just use it again. I mean, we knew just from a point differential standpoint, this was a historic team, and they were on the wrong end of historic, and they didn't show up against the Giants at home, and they lost. I mean, they showed up, but they lost to the Giants, and people didn't expect that. But nobody should be surprised here.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is surprised, because a lot of the way they won games this year was just, as you said, that's the word. That's the word when you think about them. And now Kirk Cousins is going to go into another offseason and have to answer all these questions why he makes so much money for so many years. And when a game counts the most, he just doesn't deliver. He never has. All right, back to our game tonight. Alex, I'm coming to you because your Uncle Dave loves Joe Mixon tonight. Over 3.5 catches, minus 121. I know how you feel about running backs and their props, but is tonight the type of defense that the Ravens are going to try to play to contain those big three and leave Mixon for the dump downs?
They do utilize Mixon quite a bit in the short area passing game. He does have a pretty consistent target floor. I look for that in the rare occasions that I do back running back receiving props. So don't mind the Mixon prop. He does benefit from all the attention that Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst command. There will be some drop-ups for him. I just think Samaje Perine, when he got the job earlier in the season when Mixon was out, the Bengals offense to me were just firing on all cylinders. I expect Perine to be mixed in quite a bit. He's also an adept pass catcher as well. So I just think Mixon has just been very ineffective. Worst year of his career. I could see Perine getting a couple extra series tonight, Coach. So for that reason, I'm staying away from Mixon.
Okay, real quick, Jeff's asking about Dobbins over 61.5 rushing yards. I guess that's where it's at now. Would you like that?
Yeah, I'd play it there. I'd consider scaling down to maybe a half unit, but I definitely think that he's going to get 15 to 17 carries, and he's got a great chance to break a long run. So like that still.
All right, Mikey, let me come to you. There's a boost at FanDuel tonight. Burrow to throw for at least 225 and the Bengals to just simply win the game at plus 120.
I don't mind it. I do always worry if there's going to be enough passing volume to get there. However, I do think that they let him throw just enough. So I will say he would not have hit this in the last game they just played. He only had 215 yards passing in that game. So, it's certainly possible in this kind of a matchup, but ultimately I have his number a little bit north of that. So I think it's a fine play if you like the Bengals side.
All right, see, there's an interesting development going on with the Ravens because they have announced, well, it's their lack of announcement that kind of has made news. They haven't announced their starting quarterback, and word out of the Ravens camp is that Anthony Brown and Tyler Huntley both will see action tonight. So at least in my book, there is only a passing prop on Huntley, and it's probably the lowest number I've ever seen, 150.5. Currently, I don't have an attempts. I don't have completions because of this news. What do you make of it?
Yeah, and that's not the Tyler Huntley prop. That's the Anthony Brown passing yards prop, correct?
No, that's a Tyler Huntley prop.
Tyler Huntley. I mean, so the funny part about the Tyler Huntley prop, we've taken his unders before and we've been successful at it. So, I mean, if that is available, I'd go ahead and take the under. We know he's coming off an injury. Even if he's healthy and plays all 4 quarters, I'm not sure he gets to this number. So it's one of those things I would probably end up taking the chance. It's not something I'm going to bet. I'd probably end up taking the chance and taking the Tyler Huntley under if it's being offered.
And I just bet it myself, big boy. And I got it at
150. Yeah, that's a good number on it too. I've got it down to 142 in a few books. So yeah,
my juice is 135, Mikey, for that.
Yeah.
So not.
I mean, I have 142 at minus 115. So yeah, it's still it's certainly something I would consider is playing that under for sure.
I don't know that I've ever seen this before. I can remember seeing this before where you don't know which quarterback's going to play the most, yet there's still a prop out there. That's
right.
pretty interesting. Alex, let me come back to you because I know the other games have nothing to do with this one, but yesterday, Seattle and San Francisco, we thought would be a pounded out, rainy game. What happened? A lot of points. Then we had today, what we thought was going to happen, pounded out, getting a lot of points. Every game, all 4 have gone to the over. So tonight, Mikey just said he would lean to the over, but if those game scripts are like tonight, that means somebody has to have a big night outside of the guys that we think. On the Cincinnati side, who do you think that could be?
I've been impressed with Tyler Boyd recently, especially considering his receiving prop is around 32.5 yards. I think he really benefits from having T. Higgins, having Jamar Chase on the outside. When one of those guys were missing and he were forced to move outside, he really was ineffective. When he can go back to his natural position of the slot, he really feasts. So I could see Tyler Boyd having a big potential game. He has a wide range of outcomes. He's a guy I like to attack with alt totals. It wouldn't surprise me if he had 20 receiving yards. I'd be equally surprised if he had 100 receiving yards and a touchdown or 2. So he's a guy that could be heavily involved. I think Mark Andrews could have a big game tonight as well. He's playing one of the worst stretches of his career right now. I think Huntley is a big reason why, but this is a spot, in my opinion, he could be leaned heavily on, especially considering if you just look at Baltimore's pass catching group, just so many injuries and just lack of talent. I could see Mark Andrews getting 12 to 15 targets in this game and potentially have a spike game.
You will not believe the next question I was going to ask. I was going to say, I don't want Alex to be jealous, but see ya. What about Mark Andrews? Because he loves Mark Andrews. You love Mark Andrews. But actually, I'm coming to you. See, I'm kidding. Joe Burrow, what we've seen from the quarterbacks so far. And that's why I encourage people to watch everything, watch all the games. Because these quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, they have come in with the mentality, I'm going to do everything I can to win this game, including using the legs. Josh Allen did not hit his prop. Daniel Jones went way over it today. So tonight, Burrow, it's only 10.5, minus 125. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of like it, but I don't think I'm going to take it because I think what we're going to see is Burrow just spreading it around to a lot of his different targets. What I love about the Bengals this week is that they have issues on their offensive line, particularly the right side of it, but their skill position players are all healthy from Mixon to Boyd to Hayden Hurst and of course T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So listen, that could absolutely come in, but if I'm going to attack Burrow, it's probably going to be through the receivers, maybe taking Jamar Chase overs or Tyler Boyd overs. I think you could speculate on T. Higgins, but I agree with Alex. Tyler Boyd has emerged with, handfuls of targets and more catches than, for example, T. Higgins did last week against this very same team. So I think that's how I would attack Burrow, is by taking overs on Jamar Chase yards and Tyler Boyd yards.
Okay, I'm going to do that as we speak. Mikey, they're asking about the combo number for Joe Mixon because we have seen him have some really, really spike games, as Alex likes to say, in December. Do you like him tonight? Let's put the number together at 82.5.
I honestly don't love it. I think he can get to it. I just think we can hit big plays to Chase. We can see short fields. I'm really worried about Samaje Perine mixing in a little bit as well. So the scenario I want to play this, I know it's boring for some of you out there, but I think it's much better played live when we understand that the game might be a really competitive football game. That's where I really want to jump in on this. And if that doesn't occur till the second half, these numbers can come down quite a bit. So he's certainly talented enough to get there and certainly could have the volume to get there, but he's not been efficient at all.
All right, Alex, go.
This has also been one of the best run defenses in the league, particularly since they acquired Roquan Smith from the Bears at the trade deadline. Since he's joined the Ravens, they are #1 in EPA allowed per rush. So Joe Mixon is facing the best run defense in the NFL, at least as far as teams left in the playoffs are concerned. So it's definitely tough sledding for him. Plus, he's just been really ineffective, coupled with the fact the Bengals offensive line just haven't really done anything for him in the way of opening up running lanes for him. So yeah, I just think this is a great spot to fade Joe Mixon. Personally, I do anticipate him being involved as far as targets are concerned, but he's going to find it tough sledding on the ground. I just think it's a wash for him. We're just going to see the Bengals have been moving away from him more and more as the season's progressed. They were one of the more balanced teams earlier in the season, but they've really kind of just become very pass heavy, which makes sense when you have all these weapons and you have Burrow firing on all cylinders. I expect that to be the case tonight against the Ravens as well.
So for those of you that are not on the mega preview, Carol's one of our VIPs, and she is a big fan of RJ, the Stoic one. So, Carol, good evening. Welcome back to the Early Edge. Now, I completely lost my AB. Why'd you do that to me? Why did you do that to me? See, let me come to you because I love how for the other games today, we found so many different ways to attack a game that on paper just looked like something you couldn't bet. The Bills and Dolphins, 1,000 different ways that we attack that. So tonight, I'm looking at a team total for the Ravens in the first half that's under a touchdown. So all they have to do is score one touchdown in the first half, and we would catch that total. It's right at 7 now. Just went up to 7. I almost feel like it's worth a sprinkle just to see.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that's worth a sprinkle. Listen, I think the Bengals defense is pretty legit, but we saw the Ravens even last week were able to move the ball on the Ravens. Now, let's keep in mind the Bengals have now had a week to game plan for whether it's Anthony Brown or Tyler Huntley. Not super daunting to have a week to game plan or back-to-back weeks to game plan for those two quarterbacks. But to your point, anything can happen in this game, whether it be turnovers or the Ravens just finding, Mark Andrews for a singular drive where he has 3 or 4 catches. So, I mean, I don't hate that at all, actually. If it was 6.5, I'd really like it. But I agree with you. I mean, 7, you're almost – I like 6.5 way more than 7. Let's put it that way. But I don't hate the 7 bet either.
Okay. Very, very good. The other thing, Mikey, when I come to you, when you talk about pass heavy, we have been cashing all season tons of attempt props. And for Burrow, right now, his current number – damn it – his current number on attempts is 36.5. Do you feel like you're leaning to the unders since we believe they could jump out to a big lead and just milk it, get out, and let's play Buffalo?
I have a slight lean on the under there, but it's not something that I want to attack here personally. Just so that they can let him throw really high completion percentage throws as well. They've done that in the past. Yeah, it's not, again, I'm sorry it's so boring, but it's really just not something I'd want to attack in this particular matchup.
You know where it's not boring? The pay window's never boring when we're catching.
We talked about combo props there. You mentioned the Huntley one. If you're not able to always get the best number on Huntley, DraftKings still has his combo up for passing and rushing. And you can bring that total all the way up to 174.5. I would consider playing under on that. I know he is a mobile quarterback and has run in the past, but some of what we're betting and what's being baked in here is the report that both could play. He's very clearly not 100% and banged up. When you are very clearly not 100% and banged up and you've got the healthy running backs there, you may not be running as much. So it's a good way to bring that 142 all the way up to 174.5.
A lot of good ways, a lot of great information. Let's educate and entertain every single day of the week. All right, we have just a couple more things to get to. We got to all the props in the chat, all the best bets. We will recap our best bets at the end of the show in about 5 to 10 minutes. But 2 very important things to do now. We're crossing the top of the hour. For those of you dropping in, welcome to Early Edge Live. We're counting down to the 5th playoff game of the weekend, the Ravens and the Bengals live from Cincinnati. But it is time. It is time. You guys love your same game parlays. And tonight, my man M Squared does not disappoint. Mikey, if you don't mind, I'd love to see the donkey.
All right, so the donkey is not what it usually is tonight. This is what I would call more just a same game parlay. We're looking to double up our money here. This one is placed over on FanDuel. We usually play them on DK for those wondering. But we're going Bengals money line, Ravens plus 21.5 total, or plus 21.5 on the spread. Jamar Chase, 40 receiving yards, and then the over in the game at a very low number of 23.5. All this together is plus 104.
All right. I don't care if it's a big donkey. I don't care if it's a small donkey. It's something to play, and it is all about fun. Now, last week, AB cashed for the second time in the gym, projecting and predicting successfully the first touchdown scored of the game. So it is time to predict again. Now, I think that the odds are weighed heavily to the Bengals. So if somebody decides to play a Raven tonight, might be able to get a pretty good number. Mikey, all the way back last season, you started this. So you always get to go first when you're on the show. Who do you like tonight?
I'm going with Joe Burrow here for a couple reasons. One, I simply like it. Two, there's a massive inefficiency in the pricing in the market. Over at FanDuel, it's plus 2,600. It is plus 1,600 to plus 1,400 pretty much everywhere else. Look, Joe Burrow definitely has the ability to run for touchdowns. You typically save your body for the post. Furthermore, Joe Mixon has not been super efficient running the football, especially here in the red zone. I think this is a great opportunity for Joe Burrow to potentially run one in to start the game. Again, it's just a price point play for me. Over on FanDuel, it is up to plus 2,600.
I love plus 2,600 for a player that loves to have the ball in his hands. Now, Prop Stars, you're in 2 times this year, so you get to go next. Who do you like?
Quick shout out to Mikey for dropping 2 furthermores in that last take. So as the king of furthermore, Mikey, I appreciate that. Furthermore, I am going with Hayden Hurst plus 1,700 odds, I believe. He is a steady, reliable target for Joe Burrow in this game. Really benefits from all the attention that the big 3 receivers command. So anytime you can give me a tight end, especially on the Bengals offense at these sort of odds, I think it has some good value.
Now, AB. Show your emoji, I guess is what that is. Or graphic.
Show your avatar, boys and girls.
Avatar, that's what it is. Okay, now I did say that there could be some pretty good odds on the other side. Who do you like?
Yep. You know what? We're going to go contrarian. Look, these playoffs have been crazy, man. And the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to throw everything that they got. John Harbaugh's smart dude. I'm going to go with our dude, J.K. Dobbins at plus 1,400. Good value there, especially if the Ravens get the ball down in the red zone. You know Dobbins is going to get work. Plus, quite frankly, he could break a big one too. So, yeah, I'm going to go Dobbins plus 1,400.
All right. Now, Counselor, there's nothing you want more than to cash for a second time yourself, big boy. Who do you like?
Yeah, only a handful of chances to get back into that 3-time club. So I got a hit tonight. I'm going with Tyler Alexander-Boyd at plus 1,400. 5 catches last week. He's been in that 5-catch range over the last few games. If you want to attack the Ravens secondary, which of course I think the Bengals will want to do because it's hard to run against them, I think you attack the slot, and that's where Tyler Boyd is. He's been sort of outplaying T. Higgins over the last few games, and I think he might end up being the safety blanket in this game for Joe Burrow. Tab, Tyler Alexander-Boyd, it spells tab. I will be picking up the tab at Club Cachet when I actually hit this one. Spoiler alert, it's free, but I'll pick up the tab anyway.
That's what it's when you want buckets on the show, because anytime anything that we talk about before 2021, he has no clue. He wouldn't even know what tab is. Like, tab, what's that? Can I drink it? Yes, you actually could in 1985. All right, now we are getting very close to kickoff for the late games. We're going to recap our best bets very quickly, and we're going to get the hell out of Dodge and go and enjoy the game and cash all these tickets as well. 20 seconds or less. Prop Stars, go.
Yeah, give me J.K. Dobbins over 59.5 rushing yards. I'm really encouraged with what I've been seeing from him recently. He's had at least 59 yards in 4 consecutive games. 2 of those games went over 100 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry over that 4-game sample size. I expect him to get a ton of run tonight against the Bengals as well.
All right, Uncle Dave's on Joe Mixon over 3.5 catches. Sia, you're also on Joe Mixon tonight.
Yeah, give me the under 14.5 rush attempts. He's been under this in 4 out of the last 5 games that he's played. He's been very inefficient. We're going to see Samaje Perine mix in a little bit. I think he'll get close to this number, but I don't think he eclipses 14.5 rush attempts.
Do not call Mikey for the next 4 hours. Why, M squared?
Because I'll be live betting tennis at the Australian Open most likely, but no, because I want to watch the Bengals win here. We have a big position on this parlay. We got an excellent price point on it Tuesday. Shout out to the mega preview. Hopefully, we'll have something similar next Tuesday. But yeah, let's go Bengals in this game. Not a lot to say about it. Pretty self-explanatory. We want the favorite to win here.
We talk about the mega preview all the time. I have it -6.5 from Tuesday as well. You got to watch these shows live, everybody. We told you it would go up a couple of points. That's exactly what has happened. AB, drop in. Why do you like these four?
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. Mikey's bets, yeah, they are called positions and not bets because they're a little larger than the rest of ours. Look, I like Bengals first half and second half, both team totals over 12.5. I like both teams a total amount of over 8.5 punts, and both teams to each score 1 or more touchdowns and 1 or more field goals tonight.
And the Maestro's on Evan McPherson to kick at least 2 field goals tonight. And unless KJ Osborne is playing 2 different games today, he will not be playing in Cincinnati tonight, as he only caught for 20 yards today for the Vikings. RJ White is on the Ravens at +8.5, and I got to tell you, the way these playoffs have gone this weekend, it looks like a pretty good bet right about now. All right, boys, you know we like to in every single show asking what's the number one most important thing you're looking forward to tonight to help educate the audience at home for this evening or maybe perhaps later in the playoffs. Mikey, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm looking to see how Joe Burrow handles the pressure put on him here. He is dealing with kind of a makeshift offensive line. They've got some pretty significant injuries. We'll see if they can overcome them and grab a win.
Proppy, let's go.
I've been impressed with Zach Taylor finally deciding to turn the Bengals into a high-volume passing offense. I think Bengals fans, anyone watching Joe Burrow, has been calling that forever. It's finally shifted midway through this season. I'm curious to see if they continue it tonight against an opponent that is a huge pass funnel in the Ravens.
See ya. Bring us home.
The Ravens are well constructed and they're gritty and they're well coached. And I just wonder if that's going to be enough against the Cincinnati Bengals team that is really primed, coming off 8 wins in a row and all their skill position players healthy. This is a really tough matchup for the Ravens. But if any team can do it, it's probably the Ravens in terms of keeping it close.
Yeah, the Bengals come in with a big old chip on their shoulders. They're not happy about how the NFL laid out the playoffs. They're not happy about the fact that now they're going to have to go to Buffalo next week if they win tonight. But they did it a year ago. So what makes us think they can't do it again? But it all starts here tonight. With all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday night tickets straight to the pay window for my entire crew. Love them all. M Squared, Proppy, the counselor, AB on the 1s and the 2s. I am the coach. Tell all your friends we're here every single day, multiple times a day. There's only one brand you even need to worry about. We like to call it the Early Edge. Good luck.